Game on.
Okay.
Okay, Alex, you've got a phenomenal background in the technical space, right? Uh, Technical, then math. You've done a ton of development, hobby time, spare time, and in about the last year or so, you've taken that development and done it full time, and you transitioned from emergency nursing to trauma nursing to OR nursing, which is phenomenal things. And oh, by the way, for anybody that doesn't realize this, trauma, OR, and ER nursing, these guys understand disaster. They understand incident response. They understand teamwork while under duress. So if you didn't know that, now you do. And you've got the technical background to take that environment and translate it into a really cool technical career focusing on cybersecurity. So
Absolutely.
just give me a quick overview of some of the stuff that we talked about. Go.
Yeah. So, I'm in the top 4% of TryHackMe. I have developed
As a
software
nurse,
since,
top
yeah, as a
4% of
nurse.
TriFact Me. Boom.
Yeah. I've developed software since about 2006. That's including freelance work, C, C++, tons of Python scripting. I just started picking up Rust. I think that's a fantastic language for anyone looking for something comparable to C and C++, but also something with some memory safety and a little bit of security there to
So you
save you
don't have
from
to
those
run your own
buffer
malloc.
overflows. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And we talked about a couple different potential career paths for you within cybersecurity. So
Right.
I understand that I've injected more uncertainty into your life. Why don't you just kind of talk through two of those paths and what you might do now to get ready for them?
Yeah, so it sounds like I may be a great fit for a sales engineer position, which is kind of fits my behavioral profile, I guess, that we talked about. I'm an int I believe you said. So, which definitely hits the nail on the head. I'm a little more introverted. I love the technical focus, but I also do like working in groups and kind of brainstorming ideas around and coming up with a end-to-end process that may be unique to fit different needs. A little more on the technical side would be pen testing. I love that you can just focus in on a problem and come up with a creative solution. And I think pen testing is a great fit for that. I don't know. It's really like an itch I love to scratch all the time. I guess just making sure that I am hyper focused and exploring unique paths to try to find a solution. It might take 200 attempts at one thing, but once you crack that nut, it is just extraordinarily exciting. It's an unexplainable feeling, I guess, just like solving any other problems.
Excellent. Yeah. So let's focus on that solving problems piece, right? So you've got a couple different options. You can either go solve problems for a company. You could go do pen testing on your own and solve those for a client, or
Mm-hmm.
you could solve problems by taking some software or services and getting those out to more clients on, like a pre-sales role for a number of different places that you could go. So all of these, or even starting your own company, which you'd be doing that entire life cycle yourself,
Right.
from finding new clients and doing business development to then focusing on delivery afterwards. So you have a
Mm-hmm.
number of different routes that you can go, and it's a choose your own adventure. So let's talk about a couple of the more material things that you can do now to prepare. Go.
Okay. Yeah, so probably the most interesting suggestion is a book. You're gonna have to remind me of the title, but it's about above the line and below the line sales, and it sounds like it's not only about how to be in a pre-sales position, but also how to market yourself to others. I find that very interesting, and definitely an area that I am personally lacking in. Other materials, I guess, depending on the path. I mean, doing any kind of capture the flag. I think Try Hack Me honestly is probably the absolute best thing any beginner or anybody interested in cybersecurity could immediately go to right now and absorb a ton of information. I mean, and not only just the information, but the hands-on experience. That's probably the most useful piece. Hack the Box is fantastic. It's a little less, I guess, like hand-holdy than Try Hack Me. You really need to know your tools and have a methodology down before you want to just try to dive headfirst into Hack the Box, I would say.
And what else are you going to be doing now?
I am going to be pursuing the OSCP, and I'm going to be starting the PWK course very soon. I don't have a set date, but after our conversations, it sounds like that is an excellent path to pursue at this time.
Well, you've already been doing effectively all the preparation work for it, right? So
Absolutely.
you're already, I'd say, ready to do that. And
Yeah.
then, what about your own personal marketing?
My own personal marketing.
Yeah, so like your LinkedIn.
um, you can find me at Alex Gatz. I don't know. How do you market a LinkedIn?
Well, so like you've got work to do on your LinkedIn profile, right?
Yeah, I
So
do.
what's
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
takeaway from the things that you and I have talked about that somebody else might want to look at for themselves on their own profile?
Actually, that's okay. Yeah. So right in the headline, it's a great idea to put like the most highly technical and exciting things that you have achieved. Just put that right at the top. Don't put it anywhere else. Put it right at the top. Um, if you have any kind of blocks of information, like a mission statement, for example, you would want to try to either slim it down or like narrow the focus, I guess, into a more specific um, headline, not headline, more specific sentence, probably about
Message.
yourself. Yeah. Message is a good way to put it. But narrow your message down. Don't just ramble on a sentence about maybe some other career path
There you go.
that's not as
Excellent.
applicable.
So I think my video may have frozen.
It
Um,
did. Yeah.
we also talked a little bit about working through some methods of understanding what your story is. Talk to me about that.
So you're going to want to find high impact interview questions and sit down across somebody after you've kind of come up with a story about a number of those questions and work on, I guess, just portraying that story as genuinely as possible and make it second nature. Practice it until it's second nature.
Yes. So the goal there being, regardless of what corpus of questions you use,
Mm-hmm.
tons of these questions are seen all over the place. So the outcome goal there is you work through and you figure out like 6 to 8 core stories that make you you, and you understand how to answer any of those potential questions with those core stories.
Right.
So rehearsing them, not just practicing them or saying them in your head, you're literally doing it out loud as much as possible.
Yeah, they need to be second nature.
Excellent. So you've got some work to do. You've got some decisions to make about which path or pipeline you might go, and then it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah, it is a lot of work, and it should be a lot of work. I wish we could continue a conversation, try to pin down maybe what path would be a best fit instead of maybe even if it was just, which is probably the best fit and not necessarily here, go run with these three. Because that is easily the biggest struggle I have on a day-to-day basis. I battle with this. Should I try to slowly ramp up my own business on the back end, or should I continue an aggressive education path, or should I have when you have children, as I'm sure you well know, you have limited time to work with, and you're usually sacrificing sleep. So it's been a serious struggle to try to narrow down which path is not only a best fit, but also, the most time effective.
Mhm. So
So what
that's
would be your advice?
the first thing is like you've already done some of the work to figure out more about yourself, right? As an INTJ, whatever. Like that's a great place to start. But helping maybe just doing some more profiling metrics to figure out and get that feedback now can tell you which path you should take. So I brought up a path that you hadn't thought of yet, and that's more uncertainty. But
Right.
the goal there being if we can take a couple different paths, figure them out, maybe we find one that's great, right?
Hmm.
And then figuring out which one's not as great and making it a risk decision. So how long potentially to go through and build this up? How long until I can take maybe a company that you're starting full time? How long, like, will I need to go get external investment to make this happen? Time frames, dollars, what you love, and then blending all of those things together. Maybe you get down to two options. Who knows? Maybe you flip a coin. You've got those two. Or maybe it's a, hey, I know that if I pick this thing, it's going to take me 18 months to turn a profit. And so do I go all in that now, quit my day job and go after it if I do that? Or it might take 36 months to do
Hmm.
that potentially part-time and then take it full live.
Right.
So
That's probably the
like,
safer option, the latter.
well, I've never been a big fan of safe, but that's my risk tolerance and my risk
Safer. It's
profile.
the safer option. It's not the safe option. I
But
see.
yeah, so that's,
You're more you love risk. You dive headfirst into it.
I do
Skydiving, deep sea diving.
all the above. But that's me, right? So
Yeah.
and my situation, like my risk profile has gone down dramatically because I've got two kids under 5,
Yeah,
as do you.
I
So then,
do.
what do we, how do we scale that back? How do we figure out what is best for you? I can't make that decision for you, and
Right.
I
Yeah,
can't
no, absolutely
want
not.
one of those paths more than you do.
No. Right.
But what I can do is highlight a couple paths and roadblocks and friction points that you might see on either of those. So that way they're predictable and you can make a better, more informed decision about where you want to go.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I would want as well.
Cool, man.
The more information, the better.
Do you have any advice for anybody that might be following in the path, either of these, at least to the point that you are in right now?
Yeah. Reach out to me if you have any questions.
I
And
love that
I
advice.
would go to I would honestly start with Try Hack Me. I think the basics of Try Hack Me is a really great starting point to get your feet wet to see if it's even anything that you're interested in the first place.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to cut you off in just a second because I still want to go eat lunch today. And my question for you is this. I'm going to ask you to commit to something, and you don't have to commit to it until I tell you what it is. But can you commit to, if this was useful, to paying it forward at least 3 times?
Absolutely.
Love it. All right.
100%.
There, you just agreed
I
twice.
I pay it forward every day. I
3
can.
times. Cool. Okay. For anybody else that's listening, you can reach out to Alex. Sounds like he's willing to share some of his journey as well.
Absolutely.
And if you're a hiring manager looking for a top 4% Try Hack Me competitor, he is available on the market. And if you are interested in a potential sales engineer that understands the technical base level of operating systems and networks and infrastructure, that you can totally teach, coach, mentor, take a look at his profile. Y'all have a good day. Bye.